I'm gonna keep it so real. I have had to record this intro so many times because I genuinely don't know what I want to say. But in the amount of time that it's taken me to try and make this video, I saw an image that pissed me off so much that I came back to re-record the intro one final time. And so here we are. The image in question is this piece of garbage right here. For context, Takashi Iizuka hinted at a year of Amy, very similar to the Unstoppable Year of Shadow. And since then, this image has been circulating. And people say that the Sonic community doesn't have a misogyny problem. And motherfucker, I like Metal Sonic. Nigga, what the fuck did Amy do to get called uninteresting? Because dog, she is anything but uninteresting. Amy fucking rocks. I mean, I'd say it's pretty safe to say that Amy is one of, if not the most expressive character in the whole series. Every emotion that she expresses is dialed up to 1,000. You will never have a dull moment with her. Well, almost never. This causes her to have a lot of the most adorable, silly, and overall funniest moments in the whole series. She's really just an endearing character, the light of any scene that she's in. Something that I personally really appreciate about her. From lunging onto Sonic with a massive hug, to sassing Knuckles because he got tricked again, to accidentally breaking Tails' Miles Electric because she was jump scared, to her hyping herself up in this really adorable way. Seriously, can we see more of this? Sonic X is a really good showing of this. She is a beacon of boundless energy in that show, and I love her for it. Sonic X is by far one of her best appearances in the entire series. Like seriously, if you want premium Amy content, rewatch Sonic X. You will not be disappointed, and you'll constantly be entertained. But something that Sonic X shows about Amy perfectly is her fiery temper. I think Amy is well known at this point for her explosive temper and her sort of bratty behavior that people have spun into a negative light and even called her abusive for. One of two terms that I've seen slapped onto Amy for very stupid reasons, but I'll get to the other one later, don't worry. And if you're one of the people that thinks that Amy is abusive, then I'm here to formally tell you, you're trash. I didn't think this needed to be said, but a cartoon hedgehog hitting another cartoon hedgehog over the head with a comically sized mallet is inherently cartoony and not comparable to actual domestic violence. Because holy shit, if I have to hear another person call Amy abusive, I'm going to lose my mind. But getting back on track, Amy's temper and bratty behavior can honestly be really funny to watch at times. Going back to Sonic X, the moment on the train where Amy kicks the kid into a wall, I ain't gonna lie bro, I was laughing my ass off with this scene rewatching Sonic X again. Especially because I was watching the Japanese dub and she calls the kid a damn brat. Like, oh nah. Another thing that's been on my mind recently is how Amy completely embarrassed Storm, gave that man PTSD and exposed him as an entire fraud. This scene in Sonic Riders Zero Gravity lives rent-free in my head. Amy is completely commanding this man like he a whole dog. And this sticks in Storm's head because we see stuff like IDWs like Phantom Rider arc where Storm is completely terrified to see Amy again. Or even in Sonic Racing Cross World, which is, I think, one of the worst Amy appearances of all time, but we'll get to that. I think one of the few good parts of Amy's characterization in this game is her interaction with Storm, mostly because of how terrified Storm is to see her. Oh, do I even need to talk about Amy and Sonic Heroes? I have grown like a massive appreciation for Sonic Heroes' depiction of Amy. She is one of the spunkiest characters that I done ever seen. She stands on business the entire game. She's my goat here. From telling her friends to lock in and go look for their stolen friends, to completely frying Eggman every chance she gets.
Mustache monkey.
And overall being a fucking badass. Like, bro, I love this nigga. Though Sonic Heroes brings up something else that I've seen Amy labeled as, and that is Stalker. when no, she is not a stalker. Every instance that I've seen someone call Amy a stalker, I can debunk so easily. Hell, let me give you a few examples right here. Sonic Heroes. She was not stalking Sonic in that game. She was looking for him because she thinks that Sonic is the one that stole her friends. And if you're about to bring up the "this time there's no way out of marrying me" line, then I only have one thing to say to you. That is a subtle callback to the line that she had in Sonic Adventure 2, you know, the prison scene, where people say that this is another showing of Amy's obsession with Sonic when no, she just jokes with the guy. Cause let's be honest, if she was being serious, she would not have unlocked Sonic from that cell unless he agreed to marry her. But Sonic says no. She says, "I thought I had you this time," and lets him out. And then the line in Sonic Heroes is a callback to this scene. Like, what? Or hell, going back to Sonic Adventure 2 again, Amy's trying to break Sonic out of prison and people call her a stalker for this, when Tails is trying to do the exact same thing. Does that make Tails a stalker? No. The only time in the series where I can say that Amy was stalkerish was Sonic Battle, and now that I think about it, Sonic Varieties as well. But those games are more of the exception rather than the norm. Amy is just out of character as a whole in both of those games, especially Sonic Battle. That game has my least favorite depiction of the character as a whole, using body dysmorphia and underrating as a punchline for her, and pushing her Sonic addiction to new heights to actually make it concerning. It's scarily out of character for her. And again, exception, not the norm. Like, if you want to see an actual fictional stalker, just go watch Miraculous. Marinette Duping Chain will have you completely settled. That character is terrible, but that's a story for a different day. Alright, rant over. Let's move on to a part of her character that I would argue is even more important than her temper, and that's her compassionate side. Sonic Frontiers tries to act like Amy sharing her love with the world, just some new, big, innovative concept for the character that's never been done before, when she's been doing this damn near from the beginning. I mean, just look at Birdie in SA1. Amy put her life on the line just to help this bird reunite with his family. And what I find so interesting about Amy is that, unlike basically every other character in the series, she doesn't have any crazy, wild abilities. All she has is a mallet and some sauce. And she cooks up a full course meal with that shit, don't get me wrong, but the nigga is completely powerless for the most part. She's kinda just your average city girl plus a few acrobatics, which makes the fact that she puts her life on the line to help people so honorable to me. And it comes naturally to her because she's such an empathetic character. She is one of the most down-to-earth characters in this series. Just your average girl trying to do her best, making the world a better place with little actions. Little actions that get her into big situations, but still. Hell, that's the reason why she encourages Big and Cream to go look for Froggy and Chocola instead of just sitting around like bums. And it's so cool to see these characters that aren't really that powerful accomplishing something so grand, all under Amy's leadership, mind you. Again, here is Amy as the GOAT. I don't care what balagna y'all have to say. My balagna is bigger anyway. Pause. I think two of the best showings of Amy's compassion come from Sonic Adventure 2 and, funnily enough, Sonic Mania Adventures. But let me discuss the one that everyone knows about first. I think that most Sonic fans by now know about the famous scene in Sonic Adventure 2 where Amy talks to Shadow on the Space Colony arc and relays her reason for why Shadow should help out humanity instead of destroying them. I love what Amy says before her talk with Shadow as well. All of these grand heroes are doing what they can to save the world and stop the crash course of the arc. And Amy, the underpowered little hero that she is, wants to help too, so she does in the only way that she knows how. Amy's well known for her massive mallet, you know, that Pico hammer, yada yada. But I'd argue that her most powerful weapon are her words. I mean, just ask Gamera in Sonic Adventure 1. But the way that she describes humanity and people on Earth is really interesting to me and reveals so much about her character. She's not oblivious to the fact that there are terrible people on Earth. I mean, she's seen a lot of them firsthand. She was literally held at gunpoint by fucking Eggman. Of course she knows that there are terrible people. But there are also good people on Earth worth fighting for, and as long as those good people exist, there will always be a reason to stand up and fight to protect the innocent. So saving them is a good thing, all to give them a chance to be happy. Words that trigger Shadow's memories of Maria. Her words were so powerful and full of compassion that they reminded Shadow of the one person that was so pure that he would do anything in his power to honor. And we all know where this leads. Shadow goes to help out the heroes and sacrifices himself, but would he have done that if Amy didn't say what she said? I'm not saying that Amy saved the world, but Amy kind of saved the fucking world. Deny all you want, child, you know it to be true. But I think one of the most perfect depictions of Amy's character comes from Sonic Mania Adventure's Christmas special. The one where she helps an abandoned Metal Sonic get back to Eggman. Which is insane to me, especially given all of the shit that Metal Sonic has put Amy through. I mean, look at Sonic CD. Do I even need to say the history that these two characters have? And Amy isn't oblivious to this either, don't get me wrong. She was ready to up the pole against this nigga. But when she saw that he was defenseless and he was stuck in all this snow, she decides to pick him up and drag him to Eggman's base. From how many zones, may I add? Resilient Queen, that's my goat for real. And she even puts a little bow on his head, which I think is a cute little gesture. Amy will always do anything to help people, even if it inconveniences her, even if the person is terrible, even if the person has personally wronged her, and even if she's currently in a worse state, which is one of the few things I think Sonic Frontiers gets right as a whole in terms of its story, but especially in terms of Amy characterization. The scene where Amy is scolding Sonic for not wanting to help the Coco is truly just one of the most in-character things for Amy. Congratulations, Ian Flynn era of Amy, you did something right for once. Don't expect me to compliment you for long. Get back into your room before I get out the belt. In fact, I want to delve a bit more into the whole Ian Flynn Amy debacle. Now, I'm just going to put this out front. If you are one of the people that harasses Ian Flynn because you don't like his depiction of the Sonic characters and how he writes the series, then go fuck yourself. You are a terrible human being. I do not want you watching my content, and I do not want you around the small community that I've somewhat built up. Fuck you. You suck. Just because you don't like how a writer writes your favorite character doesn't mean that they deserve death threats. The worst thing he's done is have a bunch of terrible takes on Sonic characters and how different things on the Sonic lore work. But from what I know and from what I've seen of him, he seems like a pretty chill guy. I have no qualms with him as a person, and I hope that he does well, and I wish the best for him as a person. But at the same time, that shouldn't stop you from criticizing his work when you think that he's done something in the writing that feels off. And that's another thing. Just because you like a writer as a person, and just because a writer is better than another writer for the series, let's say, I don't know, the guys that made Baldy McKnows's, that doesn't mean that Ian Sonic is immune to criticism. We can still criticize Ian Flynn without being assholes here. At the end of the day, we're talking about a pink hedgehog with an oversized mallet. Now, from the way I've been talking, I think you can tell that I am not the biggest fan of Ian Flynn's Amy. I'm overall just not a fan of how Ian Flynn portrays the characters in the series as a whole, with a few exceptions. He's not terrible or anything. I think he has a lot of great moments with these characters, and especially Amy. I can point to a few of the moments that he's written for the character that I think he's done a great job. But as a whole, with Amy, he has a lot of high highs, but he has 1,000 more lows when it comes to writing Amy. She's a lot more mellow. The edges are completely smoothed out. That spunk is replaced for quote-unquote maturity, and that's the problem that I have with Amy. This idea that taking away everything that made the character special is maturity instead of watering her down because people find her obnoxious. And Amy can be overbearing. I will readily admit to that as someone that thinks that Amy is the third best character in this whole fucking thing. Yeah, she's only my third. Sorry, Shadow and Knuckles are my goods. But I think she more than makes up for that overbearingness with an exuberant and very, as I said earlier, expressive personality. She is the light of any conversation she's in. She's the light of any room that she's in. She's the light of any cutscene that she's in. But as of recently, it hasn't felt that way. It feels like we're taking chunks out of a character to make her more appealing for people that never even liked her in the first place, instead of writing her for the people that actually liked her for her. Especially because she wasn't doing anything inherently bad outside of Sonic Freeriders and Sonic Battle, but yeah, we already discussed that, fuck off. Nowhere more is this watering down apparent than how Sonic and Amy's relationship is treated. People will go out of their way to try and describe Amy's thing for Sonic as this unhealthy, toxic obsession, when it really isn't for the most part. She's just really loud and outspoken about her love for the Blue Hedgehog. And we know the reason she loves him. It's because Sonic is that step into adventure, that adventurous guy that lives on the edge of the knife that she wishes she could stand on. And Sonic is her gateway into that. It may have started off as her wanting to find her hero on Never Lake, but she found Sonic so interesting as a character, not just because of what her card said, which, by the way, no, her cards aren't some superpower, it's a fucking hobby because that's what Japanese girls do, like young Japanese girls do in their free time. It's meant to make her more of a normal girl, as I said, average city girl. Sorry, little tangent. But yeah, she doesn't just like Sonic because, oh, it's her destined hero that she was supposed to meet. She likes him because he's him. One of the best bits of Ian Flynn writing for the character comes from IDW issue 2, where she states that she wouldn't want to change Sonic for the world because she loves Sonic for him being him. I think that, again, perfect, incredible writing for the character right there. She doesn't want to change Sonic because she loves Sonic for Sonic, which is why it confuses me why this exact same writer depicts Amy as someone that merely just looks up to Sonic instead of someone that unapologetically loves the guy. She's a character that wears her heart on her sleeve, and it's weird to see her not act that way anymore when being written by Ian Flynn. Because yeah, we'll have Sonic Crossworld stuff where Amy's saying, guys, let's keep it civil, when characters are insulting her, telling her to cry about it, saying that she's a shitty racer, when I know that the Amy that I used to know would have upped the poll saying, you wanna talk shit? I bet! Bitch boy ass nigga. Fucking clanker. Fucking DuckTales reject looking ass nigga. So obsessed with winning he ain't wanna lose anything, not even his virginity, ass bud. Like, I know she would have been frying Jet a new one if she was allowed to be herself. But as I said earlier, this is all only apparent when talking about Ian Flynn's Amy. Because outside of Ian Flynn's Amy has been just the way that I remember her. I love how Amy has been written in the Phantom Rider arc. I think that Evan Stanley writes a fucking phenomenal Amy, like a generational Amy. She has that sharp, taut temper, that attitude and spunk, and she unapologetically loves Sonic. And then there's how Daniel Barnes wrote Amy in the recently released Chaotix anniversary special, which I think phenomenal. The way that he described the character, like on Twitter and stuff. I have a Twitter, you can follow, by the way, thank you. But the way that he describes the character, you can tell that he fundamentally understands Amy, even down to pointing out that, yeah, Amy is a bit of a brat, but there's nothing wrong with that because that's just who he is, and that's what makes her such a fun character, and I couldn't agree more. And would you know it? She steals the show in that comic. She's by far the best part of that entire comic. But the thing is that The person at the current helm, the main writer for this series, is Ian Flynn, someone who has expressed how he feels about Amy, and people will say, "Oh, this is outdated. This was made a while ago." You get the opinions that were made a while ago that you still hold on to this day. I mean, yeah, there are some opinions that change with time, but some of them still stick. And the way that Ian Flynn writes Amy a majority of the time, not all the time, but a majority of the time, shows that he still holds on to, at the very least, some of the thoughts and feelings that he's had about Amy in the past. From him trying to act like Amy and Sonic's whole cat and mouse dynamic is cruel, like will they won't they, as if it's some fucking anime, like some fucking romance anime, where the main characters are clearly in love with each other but won't confess to each other when no, it's not supposed to be shipping tease. It's supposed to just be a fun cat and mouse dynamic. Something a little cute, but nothing too serious. And hell, I wouldn't even call it that one-sided either.
The original character designer for Sonic, Naoto Oshima, has stated before that the reason Sonic doesn't get into any romantic relationships is because of his boyish free heart. But if he had the heart of an adult, he would choose Amy. It makes you think.
Another thing that makes you think is that Sonic has constantly been described as shy in regarding to how he talks to Amy. And can you blame him? With such an exuberant character as Amy, someone who's full of personality, it can get a bit overwhelming. Sonic doesn't hate her, he just gets overwhelmed. And to be fair, I can't really blame him. But that doesn't mean he doesn't care about her. Why would he be upset with her not recognizing him in the werehog form, for example? Like, genuinely upset that for the first time Amy is giving him attention because she can't fucking recognize him. I'm gonna stop while I'm ahead before this turns into a Son Amy, video. Point is, of all of this, of my how long of a yapping session, I like Amy. How can you not? And watering her down isn't doing her any good. This facade of maturity is not sustainable to me. Because yeah, congratulations, she is quote-unquote mature. But what do you have left except of a shell of what she once was? A lifeless husk of a character. The stereotypical nice girl with no substance. Remember, y'all, our rose is beautiful even with its thorns. See y'all around, bozos.
Breathing out like sentiment.